This is breaking news coming in on Channel 13 News. It is said that Diocletian has been brought back to life by a Roman god and has took a flight into New Jersey. Luckily, we got a chance to have a quick interview of him at an undisclosed location. We are taking you to the interview now with Leroy Trout. Take it away, Leroy. Hello everyone. Today we have the pleasure of being able to talk with the great Diocletian. We will be talking about what he thinks of the world today, his early life, his rise to emperor, and more things about himself as the emperor of the great Roman Empire. So, Diocletian, what do you think of the world today as in the 21st century?
This is definitely not the kind of society I would run if I were president of these United States.
Well then, Diocletian, if you think so poorly of the United States today, what would you do as president of our country during this time?
This country would be much different. The people would certainly not have as much power as they do today. Secondly, I would also change how your economy is run, because let me tell you, it's not a great economy. Lastly, I would also not allow for Christianity.
Oh, well on that note, let's start talking more about you. When and where were you born during your time?
I was born in a small Roman province called Dalmatia around the year 244 AD.
Ah, what a great place that is. Were you born into a wealthy family?
Oh no, I was born into a very poor family and I had to work hard to become wealthy.
Did you attend any schooling throughout your life if you're so poor as a young boy?
Yes, but I only attended school for my elementary years. After that, I had no other formal schooling.
Ah, I see. How was the Roman Empire when you were first born? Was it a time of chaos, or was everything going well?
The Roman Empire was in a time of chaos. The soldiers were being overpaid in gold, and there were many problems with the government and military.
Wow, you were born into a time of strife. It must have been tough as a young boy. So, let's move on to your rise to emperor. How did you become emperor from such a poor family?
Well, as I was becoming older, a civil war broke out between the North and the East. I obtained a job of border defense during this time. Then in 282 AD, Carus became the new emperor of the Roman Empire. Under him, I was promoted to commander of the cavalry and of the imperial bodyguard.
Wow, I'm astonished. That's simply amazing. How did you become emperor of Rome after that?
In 284 AD, Carus was killed, and the control of the empire was taken over by his two sons. Numerian controlled the east, while Carinus controlled the west. But shortly after becoming emperor, Numerian died, and I was next in line to become the emperor. Therefore, I replaced Numerian as emperor of the east. Soon after, Carinus was killed in 285 AD, and I soon took over control of the entire empire.
What was it like becoming emperor of Rome after the death of Carus's sons, Numerian and Carinus?
It sure was not easy. Rome was still in a time of chaos when I became emperor, and I needed to instill my reforms to make it stable again.
Now we are going to move on to Diocletian's time as emperor. Diocletian, what were the reforms that you need to enforce to make Rome a stable empire?
I needed to institute many reforms in the government, military, economy, and religion. I created a new form of government called the Tetrarchy, which means ruled by four. Another reform I needed to enact was when I turned about 50 provinces into 100. I then divided the provinces into 12 diverse dioceses. I also made sure the army was back under control and the borders were protected from invasion. Along with these reforms, I also attempted economic and religious reforms. However, these were not very successful.
Diocletian, let's go more into the Tetrarchy. Tell us, why do you think this type of government was required for the Roman Empire?
Well, when I came to power, I saw how expansive and powerful the empire had become. But I also knew that with being very powerful, the empire was also very hard to maintain. I mean, let's be honest. One man ruling all of the Roman Empire at my time? Crazy.
So then, Diocletian, what was your reasoning, and how did you pick the men that you did to run the empire with you?
Well, to start off, I essentially divided the empire based on ethnicity and culture. And if you take a look at the map, it is obvious. Look at Greece. It is essentially its own prefecture, along with the barbarians having their own as well. I simply thought that if I could get 3 other men whom I trusted, it would be easier for me to maintain the empire. And truth be told, it was. Now, while it may have backfired later, that was not really one of my priorities. I mean, we were under attack from the barbarians, and I had to do something to try and solve the short term over the long.
Diocletian, there's something very important that is especially relative to both your time and our time today: Christianity. Now, in your reign, one of your main priorities was to bring down Christianity. Tell us, why is that?
Well, you see, I wanted to restore the religion of the empire, the religion that made us great. Priests told me that the reason the empire was facing difficulties and why they were at the time unable to understand the words of the gods was because of the Christians. If the Christians were the problem, I knew it was my duty to solve it. Plus, it had its benefits. People loved going to see Christians fed to the lions.
So, if you felt that way about Christianity then, how do you feel now that it is one of the leading religions of the modern world today?
To be honest, I feel hurt, anger, and like a failure. I tried so hard to restore the empire via the religion. It was one of my major goals, and I knew that if I could succeed, then the empire too would succeed. However, when I retired, I knew that I had been unsuccessful, and the fact that Christianity was still around, and more importantly growing by the time of my abdication of the emperorship. Now I learned that one man, destroyed all of my work. I cannot begin to explain how much anger I have over Constantine and his efforts.
Now, tell us more though about your abdication and why you chose to be the first emperor to abdicate.
Well, to be completely straightforward about it, I felt as if I was disrespected by the people of Rome, and that they did not acknowledge my absolute power, so I left. However, after leaving, I came down with a terrible illness. I was slowly becoming more and more useless, to the point that I was not even significant to the political system that I had created. With nothing left to do, I simply retired to my home in Dalmatia to try and live a life as simply Diocletian.
What was it like living a life after having been the most powerful man in the Western world to simply another Roman citizen without any power?
Well, first things first, I was not simply another Roman citizen. I was still Diocletian. I was still favored by the gods. That never left me. The difference was that I had decided my time was at an end, and that now it was someone else's turn. Now, while I may have not preferred Constantine, it was the will of the gods, or God, in your case today.
So, in your opinion, was it a good life that you lived?
It was peaceful. Going through my gardens and my palace was truly relaxing, and I enjoyed that. But seeing my tetrarchy fall apart, seeing Maximian kill himself, I really could not take all these events and my illness. So I decided that my time had truly come, and I committed suicide.
Well, it looks like we have ran out of time here, ladies and gentlemen. Catch us next on Channel 13 at 4 o'clock in the morning. Stay classy, Green Wave. Leroy out.